US President Donald Trump has had a bob each way when it comes to Israel's attack on Hamas leaders in Qatar overnight. On the one hand, he rebuked Israel, writing on Truth Social, unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working very hard and bravely, taking risks with us to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. But then, in the next breath, he wrote, however, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. Joining me now is former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. Sean, thanks for coming on the program. This whole situation neatly summarises America's problem with Qatar, does it not? You've got an ally that hosts the political headquarters of a terrorist group.
Yeah, you put your finger on it, James. It's complicated. Obviously, Hamas, what they did on October 7th was unbelievably horrific. But at the same time, we've got to respect the sovereignty of other nations and, frankly, other nations that we do business with and that are part of the Abraham Accords that the president in his first term worked really hard to achieve. So like so many other things, it's not as easy as it seems at face value. You've got to respect Israel trying to seek revenge and take out the leadership of Hamas. But at the same time, they did it in a way that probably wasn't something that we would be normally okay with, which is going into a sovereign country and executing people.
Negotiations to end the war in Gaza have been going on for almost 2 years. The Hamas leadership have pretty much frustrated those negotiations at every point. So you can understand Israel wanting to take this action, and they did advise Donald Trump ahead of time that they would do this.
They did, and I think that's the smart move. But it's sort of the wording of all of what went down was very interesting this morning. I think they said that they let the U.S. military know ahead of time, which I thought was a fascinating way of wording it. But at the end of the day, look, they've given a lot of latitude for a deal to be had. And frankly, I think Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, has exhausted all of these options. He's waited. He's done everything that the U.S. has asked in terms of timing, and he's frankly ready to take some serious action. But we've waited a long time for these hostages to be released, the ones that are alive and the bodies of those that have perished. And I think Donald Trump has lost patience with them, meaning Hamas, and is ready to give Israel a longer leash, if you will, to get the job done.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about, because it does seem that while Donald Trump is being careful with some of his words, as I read earlier, Benjamin Netanyahu does seem to have been given free license by the United States.
I don't know that it's free license. Look, there's a reason, as you noted, James, that they checked in with the U.S., that they wanted to make sure that we weren't caught off guard by this strike in Qatar. But at the end of the day, I think that Netanyahu has done a really good job of working with President Trump, saying, I'm willing to do what you say, but at some point understand that my people, and frankly, your people, Americans, dual citizens, are still being held by this terrorist organization that went in and did this horrific thing on October 7th, where they attacked women, children, and men, innocent civilians for no reason. So the president, like I said, I think has really tried to broker a peace to get the hostages out. And Hamas has exhausted the patience of all parties.
Indeed. All right, I want to move on to some domestic issues in the United States. Everyone's favourite Democrat, AOC, appears to have enjoyed ritzy hotels while she was touring the United States, staging these fighting the oligarchy rallies. As well as being soft on crime, the left love to rail against the rich while living it up in luxury themselves. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, likes to market herself as something of a champion for the working class against the mega-rich elite. But while on this tour fighting the oligarchy and telling crowds things like this, she would tell the crowds the only division that's truly hurting our country the most is the endless greed by those at the very, very top at the cost of everyone else. But while saying that, it's been revealed she's spending thousands of dollars staying in swanky five-star hotels. It reminds me of George Orwell, who had these people figured out 80 years ago, didn't he? He said, all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
Well, first, it's not the first time that she's done this. And remember, the dress that she wore to that famous Met Gala, where it said tax the rich, wasn't exactly off the rack, if you will. It was a designer dress made for her. She brought I don't know if he's her boyfriend or fiance, but so look, this is not new for her. She's a hypocrite, but it's also a pattern among not just Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but Bernie Sanders and Ilhan Omar, her colleague from Minnesota. They love to rally against capitalism and then benefit from it in terms of, raking in money. Ilhan Omar literally has paid millions of dollars and gotten rich in Congress. These people know no bounds. They love to tell everyone what they should do about their carbon footprint. Then they fly private. They love to talk about the excesses of the rich, and then they benefit from it. They trade stocks. They get rich in Congress. So I've pretty much had it with these guys. But at the end of the day, it's great that they're being called out on it because the hypocrisy knows no bounds, James.
Indeed. West Point Military College has decided to cancel an award given every year to American citizens who embody the ideals of West Point: duty, honour and courage. Last year it was given to former President Obama. This year it was to have been given to actor Tom Hanks, but it's now been scrapped, and Trump has praised the move, posting on social media, "Important move. We don't need destructive woke recipients getting our cherished American awards." Hopefully the Academy Awards and other fake award shows will review their standards and practices in the name of fairness and justice. So I'm reading about this, Sean, and I'm a little confused. Is Trump happy that West Point have cancelled this award because it's part of his focus on the military, being a department of war rather than engaging in all these other things, including handing out awards to citizens? Or is he happy the award has been scrapped because he's sick of it going to his opponents?
That's a great question. I think it's a little of the former more than the latter. That look, they want this to be a department, not in each of the branches. I serve on the board of the Naval Academy, so this is obviously West Point, the Army's university. But at the end of the day, we're focused on warfighting and getting the soldiers and sailors that are at these academies ready to address the conflicts and the challenges and the threats that we face. So I support the president's decision there. We should be making warriors, and I think Secretary Hegseth has got that point well done. At the same time, I will say this, and I know this may not be popular with everyone, but as much as I don't like what Hollywood has done and taken advantage of the military, Tom Hanks has really used his platform to bring to light a lot of the challenges and the issues that soldiers face. So, look, I'm torn on this one. Tom Hanks has been obviously a very big champion of the left and woke policies, but at the same time, he has done some good. Where I think the president is right is stopping this pattern. It seems like nobody on the right who fights for the country and survives and shows endurance and perseverance gets the same honor as these woke Hollywood leftists. And so it's the pattern. If it was one for one, I'd be great. I might feel a little different, but I feel like over and over again, we reward the left for all the stuff they say if they do just something good. I'd like to see that change. I think what the president is doing overall and Secretary Hegseth is welcome news.
Well, speaking of woke lefty Hollywood celebrities, you remind me of, unfortunately, Rosie O'Donnell. And she's now fearing that Donald Trump's Supreme Court could revoke her citizenship. Now, she's famously no fan of Donald Trump. In fact, she moved to Ireland when Trump won office to get away from him. But now she's come out with this extraordinary claim that her US citizenship is under threat because of Trump's control over the Supreme Court. Now, I think Trump may have started this. He posted on social media, because of the fact that Rosie O'Donnell is not in the best interests of our great country, I'm giving serious consideration to taking away her citizenship. Now, O'Donnell was sceptical that Trump could legally follow through, but now she's saying, well, the Supreme Court is conservative, so they might side with him. I don't think that Trump can seriously or would remove her citizenship. My question for you is, why does Trump engage with these people in the first place? And this is probably my problem with Trump. I think overwhelmingly Trump is a great president, but he can't seem to help himself but tinker around with these trivial issues, poking people who really don't. Who cares what Rosie O'Donnell thinks? Why does Trump waste time on these people?
I know what I get it. I get what your point is, James. I think this is what makes Trump Trump, though. Look, Rosie O'Donnell last week patently lied. She claimed that the shooter in that horrific, tragic shooting at Annunciation church in Minnesota was a big Trump supporter that was out doing stuff. In fact, it was quite the opposite. That individual was very sick, transgender, wrote "Kill Trump" on the weaponry. But so I think it's like Trump loves to troll this. He likes to get out there and kind of create a controversy. There's no question. It's not a question for the Supreme Court. I honestly can't say I'm a Rosie O'Donnell expert, but what I do believe, she was born in America, and therefore she is entitled to citizenship. But Trump loves to engage in this, to your point, because everybody freaks out and it gets them all riled up. And I think it's funny. But at the end of the day, this is so silly. Rosie O'Donnell is a patent liar. She lied about what happened in Minnesota last week, and I think he just enjoys needling her.
Is there another strategy behind what Trump does? And he gets everybody talking about Rosie O'Donnell. Meanwhile, he's moved on and is focusing on the big issues of the country while the Democrats play around in the puddles. Is that part of his strategy, perhaps?
You know what? I can't say I know for certain what his strategy is, but to your broader point, James, this guy knows how to change the narrative and dominate headlines like no one I've ever seen before, ever. Like, think about it. We're talking about this because he sent out a Truth Social post, and suddenly, because he can do that, he's the only politician of either party in modern history that can do this. He owns the narrative. And yeah, sometimes people wonder if it's distracting from something else or if he's just creating a new narrative. But the bottom line is he commands the narrative like no one else.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe it's not that he's distracted by all of this. Maybe we're distracted by all of this.
Right.
Sean Spicer, always a delight to talk with you. Thanks for joining me tonight.
You bet, James. Thank you for having me.